Charisma creates good looks, right? It doesn't require good looks, it creates good looks. So all of this stuff, it's very, very, very possible to learn. And it draws from a wide variety of disciplines: behavioral, cognitive, neuroscience, peak athletic performance training, various acting methods. And there's a variety of exercises that you can do to actually start to learn these behaviors and embody them on a very, very consistent basis. But it takes work. It's going to take effort. And again, you guys are the ones who schlepped yourselves down to Miami, Florida to be here. So I think you're willing to put in the work, right? But the problem is what? Everyone wants everything to be convenient. I believe, and I truly believe this, that convenience is the most underestimated force in our society today. And it has wide-ranging ramifications for us as a society. I read an article about this last year in the failing New York Times that kind of got me thinking about this. Now, what is convenience, by the way? How do we define that?
Like instant gratification?
Instantaneous gratification, the elimination of effort. So I would dare say that convenience is the primary motivating factor in American life. Easier is better, right? Easier is better. You are considered bizarre if you are doing anything inconvenient. Like, do you know anyone who doesn't own a smartphone? Anyone in here know anyone who does, like, literally just doesn't have one? Yeah, they're considered like an eccentric. It's bizarre. Like, why wouldn't you have this? So it's very strange. Think about how many guys in here regularly order things from Amazon? Pretty much everyone. It's like the more that you use Amazon, the more money Amazon makes, the easier it becomes to use Amazon, and then in turn Amazon becomes more powerful, right? So this convenience and the monopoly are going hand in hand. So, but is it worth it? Is this convenience worth it? I believe it's not all bad. I mean, really, look, I'm not up here saying that you guys need to wash your clothes on like an old-timey washboard or something, like that's not what or like churning butter or something like an Amish fellow, but that's not the case. But don't presume that this convenience is 100% positive. Do not presume this. So what it really does is it's threatening to erase the challenges that previously have given meaning to people's lives. You understand where I'm going with this? The challenges give you character. This stuff was created to free us, but it's weird because it can become a constraint on what we are willing to do. And as such, what happens? It ends up owning us. So, when did this like trend of convenience start? Like, where do you think it started? Industrial Revolution, right? So in the mid 1800s, and then they came out with what? Like canned food. They came out with washing machines. They came out with vacuums. They came out with microwaves, et cetera, et cetera. And there was like a real allure to it. They're like the efficiency of the Industrial Revolution brought into the home. Now you can be free from drudgery and so forth. So this time saving, it did what? Now you have the possibility of leisure. Before, the average person did not have that. That was reserved for like the ultra wealthy. Like only the ultra wealthy could have like a hobby or cultivate a skill. But now everyone could do it. But here's the interesting thing. How many people actually use this time to cultivate a skill? Like, have you ever had the thought, like, man, if I didn't have this job, I'd do all these things. I'd learn how to break dance, and I'd learn how to, ride a motorcycle, et cetera, play golf, whatever. How many people actually do it? Very few. What do they do instead? Social media and television. So again, is it really worth it? So the premise is that physical work is a nightmare, but is it really? You know, do you want to become, you guys ever seen the film WALL-E? Where it's like this future version of humans and they're just floating around. They're like massively obese and they're just floating around in these chairs with screens right in front of their face, like sipping like sugary high fructose corn syrup soda while every single whim is catered to them. Right? I don't think that's the goal. I don't think anyone actually wants this. So the interesting thing is, like, somebody said the 60s, but that's kind of when I think the first wave of convenience started to fade. Because what were the 60s all about? Indulgence, freedom, individuality. But the thing is, all this convenience, it made people conform in a weird way. Because now you're all using the same products, you're all eating the same canned food, et cetera, et cetera. The TV dinners and all of this kind of very bland, homogenized stuff. So, but then guess what happened? They figured out a way to commodify that too. You guys ever seen Mad Men? Great show, one of the best prestige television programs out there. In the very end, what's the very last scene of that show? Who's seen that? He goes to a retreat at Esalen, which is one of the original self-development communities in California in the 60s. And he has this revelation. What is his revelation of enlightenment? To create a Coca-Cola ad where everyone is in this hippie community singing, "I'd like to buy the world a Coke." We've all seen that ad, most likely, right? It's on the hill, it's the song. It's like they've commodified that now too. I just want you to think of it like this. There's a certain unwelcome consequence of living in a world where everything is easy. And what is that? Basically, it's the idea that when everything is super, super easy, are you even really doing things? Or are you just scheduling things to be done? It's like you don't have to do anything anymore. You don't have to do anything anymore. You're just scheduling things to be done. That's what your life becomes. So, look, I'd love to be able to call an Uber in moments. I love it. I love having that ability to, for example, last night I landed here. I got in at about 1 a.m. I can go on Yelp.com and I can determine where are the restaurants around that are open that have the exact parameters and macronutrient ratios of food that I need right now. Right? Couldn't do that even 10 years ago. Right? So it's phenomenal. I love it. But again, the question here is this. What ultimately happens to us when, as a people and as a society, when the obstacles and prerequisites for taking action that existed in the past no longer exist?
We become soft.
Become soft. There's a distinction between climbing a mountain and taking the ski lift up the mountain. So we're in a place now where it's all destination, all destination, all destination. So here this weekend, or this week rather, I'd encourage you, savor this challenge. Immerse yourself in it. Feel it on a deep, visceral level, right? This convenience has got to serve something greater than itself. It has to. And you know what the irony is? It's like even with all these time-saving appliances, people are probably actually doing more work than they were before, even in spite of all that. It's kind of crazy to even think about it. So, look, I want you to embrace inconvenience this week. That's what I want you to do. Whether it's a passion, whether it's a hobby, these non-essential activities help to define you. Do you understand? Putting yourself out there. So, again, this is what might stand between, again, this easy life and a life of complete conformity and being your own person, being an individual. So throw yourself into the fire this week. Throw yourself in there. Never forget the joy of doing the hard thing, even if it's uncomfortable.